gonna go ahead and get started, everybody. Do you want me to start with some slides and then I'll turn it over to you? Is that okay?
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay. Thank you everybody for being here for our October Delaware Aviation Advisory Council meeting. We start our presentations off with the department's mission statement, which is excellence in transportation for every trip, every mode, every dollar, and every one. We also provide an overview of the most recent traffic fatality numbers. So as of today, we are at 92 fatalities on Delaware's roadways. That's to date, which is about a 16% decline from where we were at this time last year. So any decline is great, but the goal is always zero. You will see some increases in some of the crash types. So we've got a small increase in some of the roadway departure crashes and median crossover crash that happened earlier this year. But all of our person type crashes are down, which is great. So we track these numbers very closely and are doing everything we can to bring those numbers down and ultimately to zero. We've also added a new slide, which you all should have seen in our past two meetings. This is a formal policy the department's now adopted called the SAFE system approach, and it's really focused on looking at our transportation system more proactively instead of reactively. So you'll see around the side of the circle, you'll see the principles of the SAFE system approach, and then throughout the center of the circle, the elements or the outcomes we hope to attain or achieve by adopting this approach. So you'll see a lot of this, I'm sure, in the work that the department's now trying to do, or you won't see it, but hopefully you'll see the impact of it through reduced crashes and fatalities on our roadways. I have added a few slides at the start just to go back, over with the council, our mission and goals, the council's purpose, review of the aviation system. I think that's beneficial, so everybody really knows why they're here, why we meet every 3 months. Our mission, the DelDOT Office of Aeronautics, is to provide and enhance Delaware's economic development by promoting a safe, efficient aviation system for people, goods, and services. We have 7 key goals: safety and security, economic vitality, quality of life, system preservation, system management, travel and tourism, and customer service. Those are all available, can be found more online, and those are the goals that we work into things like our system plan update, our long range plans, things like that. These are some of the current responsibilities of the Office of Aeronautics. So we conduct statewide system planning projects, and below that you'll see just a few of the different types of projects that we've completed recently or are working on right now. We also provide funding for infrastructure at the NIPIAS and non-NIPIAS facilities throughout the state. Very different methods. The NIPIAS facilities receive FAA funding, so we typically provide those facilities with a match. The non-NIPIAS facilities are obviously not eligible for that federal funding, so we provide funding for them through a process where we accept applications for projects from the airport owners, rank them based on different criteria, and then award funds based on availability. We also conduct inspections on a regular basis in order to be able to license our airports. That's a requirement in state code. And then we also conduct obstruction reviews for any developer that wants to build within regulated airspace. The department's authority there is just to be notified and does not supersede FAA's authority over airspace. The council's role, which is also defined in state code, is to support the department in planning and implementing aviation system enhancements, supporting and promoting aviation education, recommending new or improvements to existing locations, facilities, programs, projects, and equipment, and then recommend other related activities to support and improve aviation. So you all are here as council members to really think of the work that we're doing as a system, right? Understand the work that you're doing. You may have your own interest in your own airport or your own facility, but we come here every 3 months to talk about what kind of work can we do to enhance the overall system throughout the state. The Office of Aeronautics is responsible for carrying out the responsibilities, functions that the council defines and describes for it. And so, I showed you some of our current responsibilities. Certainly, if the council decides that there's more that we should be doing as it relates to promoting aviation education, right? That's a priority that the council can support and work with the department to further advance that objective, right? Overview of the council itself, there are 9 members, each appointed by our secretary here at DelDOT. There's a fixed-based operator representative from the DRBA, an aviation education representative from corporate aviation, 1 representative from each of the counties, and then 2 at-large members. So 9 members in total. And then some additional information, the council may create and maintain an annual work plan that sets the priorities of the members and sets work tasks. The council may create any reports or documents that support the business of the council. The council may form any number of committees or working groups to conduct the business of the council. I say all this to really emphasize the importance of, I want to empower the council to be able to oversee the department's, aviation program and activities. I think it's really important that you all, as the ones that are, on the ground day to day at our airports, at facilities throughout the state, to be able to say, this is what I'm seeing on the ground and what I think the system overall needs, and be able to bring that to us to carry that out and to implement it, and make sure that oversight exists from the council level. So I've been in my role doing, aviation DAAC meetings for about 2 or 3 years now. And I've over time, I've come to see what the council does and how the council functions. I would love to see the council become more active and engaged in promoting and really supporting, advocating for what they see as priorities, their priorities, and bring that to us here in the department to be able to carry those things out. And I think you'll see as I go further through the presentation why I think that's really important and has some value. This is an overview of the system map. This shows all of our public use facilities. This does not show any of the 30 plus privately owned facilities, but everything's in the public system is circled here. So there are 3 publicly owned facilities. Publicly owned meaning owned by a county or the states. Those are Wilmington Airport, Delaware Airpark, and Delaware Coastal Airport. And then 6 privately owned facilities. One of those is a reliever facility at Summit Airport in Middletown, and 5 other smaller general aviation facilities: Shandell Airport, Jenkins Airport, Foreman Airport, Laurel Airport, and Smyrna Airport. There's also the Air Force Base and the Civil Air Terminal, which is a quasi-public use facility. Shut this door, actually. So when I say system, right, the council is here to advocate for, look at the entire system. This is what I'm speaking to when I say systems. This collection of 10 aviation facilities that are public facilities throughout the state. So with that, any questions on council rule, purpose, DelDOT's Office of Aeronautics responsibilities, things like that before we get into the actual meeting agenda? No. Okay. Bob, I will hand it over to. Is it a attendee or
it's a guest?
Okay. We will. So look, before we get into the actual meeting agenda too. Sorry. So we have set up our meetings a little bit differently, our online meetings, due to some security issues. So all of our Zoom meetings are now set up as Zoom webinars, which means that if you are a member of the public, not part of the council directly, you are in the meeting as a general attendee. We do have a period for public comment at the end, so we will save any specific public comments or questions until the very end. But this will allow us to make sure that there are no. Fortunately, we've had instances of bad actors joining our virtual meetings lately, and so this is designed to just prevent that. So we will save public comment until the end, and we'll go forward with the meeting with the council members. Council members should have access to speak. Okay, you can promote him. That's cool. So do we want to go into, Lydia, do you want to take attendance?
Sure. Okay, we have Jeff Corman. Yeah. Calvin Listen.
Here, joining virtually. Sorry, I know I thought I'd be there in person, but I had something pop up, but I'm here.
Thank you. Richard Horseman,
Present.
Robert Bryant,
Here.
Jeremiah Hardy,
Yes, I'm here.
Lassans Alexander,
Here.
Matt Jordan. Okay, and we did hear from Mick Ryan and Ben Clendaniel. They will not be attending.
I'll go into some quick staff updates. I was at the NASAO convention. NASAO stands for National Association of State Aviation Officials. Their annual convention this year was in Anchorage, Alaska. So I was there at the end of September. It was a 4-day event. Attended a lot of great sessions, maximizing state funds, how to implement the state system plan, models for sustainable AAM funding. They host a great roundtable session where all the state DOT aviation staff get to speak on their programs. And then FAA, Office of Airports, was there, so it's a really great experience. One of the only experiences, actually, I think, where state DOT aviation staff can actually hear, discuss directly with their counterparts, hear what other states are doing. So I find that highly beneficial. Of course, it was in Alaska this year, so it was a great place to go. Last year it was in Pittsburgh. It was really beneficial then. Next year, I think it's in North Dakota. So they rotate around the country every few years. Yes, highly beneficial. And we're working on actually hopefully setting up some more of our airports with additional resources that they provide, some data and some training and things like that. So making sure that we're able to support our facilities in those kinds of ways. That's the only status update I have. Anything, Liddy, Bruce, you want to add?
I don't have anything.
Bob, do you want to control the slides?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to control the slides?
Now you can
Okay.
go ahead and control the slides. It's, everybody should have an agenda in front of you. Let's go ahead and go on to item 2, old business. Approval of minutes from our meeting held on July 23rd, 2025. During that meeting, Austin also provided us with updates to an ASAO meeting that he attended. We discussed the Delaware Aviation Advisory Committee's survey response and results to that. We also talked about the fiscal year 25 financial review. Also talked a little bit about fiscal year 26 financial outlook. And Randall provided us with an update on the state aviation system plan. Of course, as we always end each meeting, airport sponsors and airport interests gave us an update on what's happening at their airports and what's happening in the aviation community in the state of Delaware. So what I need is a motion to approve the minutes, and I need a second.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second, Lasan.
Okay, and can we repeat who made the motions by name? First motion was made by
Jeff Corman.
And second motion was made by who?
Lasan Alexander.
Perfect, thank you. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, let's have an aye vote.
Aye.
Everyone,
Aye.
anyone opposed to the minutes? All right, the ayes have it, motion carries. Item 3, new business. Let's start with item number 1, fiscal year 26 budget review. Austin, that sounds like that's your baby.
I'm actually going to go a little bit out of order on what's in the new business. So I'll do the budget overview next, and then I'll talk about the state funding program after that.
Okay.
So on the screen right now, I apologize, it's small for those of you that are in the room. But on the screen right now, you are seeing the amount of spend that has been allotted to the aeronautics program for fiscal year 2026. Fiscal year 2026 began July 1st of this year and runs through June 30 of next calendar year. So it's a summer cycle. And you'll see I use the spotlight feature on here. You'll see in the third column, the fiscal year 2026 state spend. The column next to that, fiscal year 2026 federal spend. Next to that's other. And then next to that, you'll see fiscal year 2027 state federal. So you'll see for fiscal year 2026, and you'll see also there are 3 rows of different types of quote projects. There's an aeronautics planning. 2 of those, one of those is just a federal portion, and one of those is a state portion. And there's also an aeronautics program development. This is not very well. But so what you'll see is that in fiscal year 2026, the aeronautics program overall, so including the aeronautics planning and program development, has a total of $771,000 to spend. And you'll see that in fiscal year 2027, the aeronautics program has a total of $1,021,000 to spend in state dollars. This number you're seeing in 26 obviously is reduced from what it will be in fiscal year 2027. That's as a result of some revenue decreases that we've seen lately, and some cuts to our program that we're contending with. And the hope is that in the future, fiscal year 2027, that number will go back up to what it has been in recent history, which is $1 million of aeronautics program development funding annually, and this consistent $21,000 of aeronautics planning funding, which we've received in recent history. All that to say that money is solely based on what is spent. It's set up in a way that tracks exactly what is spent year to year, regardless of what commitments or obligations are made in previous years. And the reason that's important is that you'll see what we've already spent as of today. You'll see how we define or how we separate out different types of projects in our finance tracking system. Some funds for obstruction review work and our aircraft counting technicians who are interns with Delaware State University, as well as work that we are doing for our system plan update from the advanced air mobility side of things, which is unfortunately not federally eligible. So that's work that we are funding with state dollars. You'll see some funds went out for land acquisitions near Delaware Airport. That's to protect their, they received a grant years ago to protect their RPC. And so these funds are acquisition of a property that was in the RPC, and then that subsequent building remediation that's required for that by the department. You'll see additional system plan spending that's for our regular state share of the FAA grant that we're required to match for that grant. So that's the addition. That's the third section of funds here. And then you'll see the last section, the bottom, the public use airport capital planning support, contains 4 different projects that we've worked on over the past year or so. So the Summit Airport layout drawing and action plan, Foreman Airport runway and taxiway seal coating, Summit Airport fuel stations, and the Shandell Airport runway stabilization. So you'll know that last year we awarded 6 different projects for our state funding program. 3 of those, as you're seeing on the screen, just now paid out with fiscal year 2026 funds. Because the fiscal year started in July 1, those projects were invoiced after that date. Those funds come from fiscal year 2026 spent, which means we have spent as of October 22nd, $603,000 on our program. I'll just go back and remind you that our overall budget for fiscal year 2026 is $771,000. So we are already very, very close to our spend limit. And the 3 projects that you see at the bottom, the Foreman Airport runway, Summit Airport fuel stations, Shandell Airport runway stabilization, those projects were projects that we awarded last year. So those were already commitments that were on the book that were to be paid out, whether they were paid out in fiscal year 2025 or fiscal year 2026, right? All that to say, as we look at state funding program for fiscal year 2026, that is a factor we'll have to consider when we decide what projects to award, if we award any projects in fiscal year 2026. We did receive a few project applications, which we will have to score and rank accordingly, depending on timelines for those projects. Those may, as I just explained, things that were awarded in fiscal year 2025 but weren't spent until fiscal year 2026 still comes out of our fiscal year 2026 budget. So depending on timing of other projects, if we decide to award a project in the next few months and then say, it doesn't move forward until we don't invoice for it until fiscal year 2027, those funds will be spent in fiscal year 2027 and come out of that budget, right? So a lot of this is just a big timing thing, right? As I said, we did receive a few applications for projects. We put out a call for new projects at the beginning of September, and that submission period closed at the beginning of October. So we did receive a few, and I think, so we'll evaluate those, go through our process that we did last year, we'll rank them, score them, see where they fall on that list. And then I think moving forward, what we might do is set up another submission period in the spring, consistent with what a lot of the FAA procedures are for projects, knowing that construction seasons are usually during the summer when it's warm out. You're not going to be doing a lot of work in the winter time anyway, which probably contributes to why a lot of the projects that we awarded last winter, we just now invoiced, right? We just now paid out. So to hopefully try to offset that, fix that lag, the plan is to start a new submission cycle in the spring and kind of reset that and hopefully see if that helps fix our timing issue a little bit. But thoughts, questions, comments? I just spoke a lot of words, so. Any questions? Does that all make sense?
I need to do that clearing needs to be done in the winter when it's froze.
Okay, that's a good point. So there are projects probably that
Not
need the winter time.
not the power lines, like I told you, we could split that up in the next year if you needed to or whatever, but the stump removal and all that, like, that needs to be happening.
Okay.
We're gonna do.
Good.
So, and we can split it up.
Sure.
Like, I think I emailed you that.
Yep. Other questions, comments? I know the money is not fun to look at, and to see that we spent a large amount of it already just based on prior obligations is hard to see, and that's the reality of we made obligations last year, and obviously we're going to see those through, and they're important and needed projects, right? But in reconciling that now with what we want to see in the future too, then it's hard to say, oh, well, we only have maybe less than $200,000 left to work with for the next 9 months or so, right? So all things to think about, and that's where, kind of going back to what I said at the start of our meeting, council feedback, input, thoughts on how to revise the process, are beneficial and would help strengthen.
I think you have a good process, and I do agree with probably getting it, instead of the fall, making it in the spring. Yeah. So it would be a spring submission for the next fiscal year, because you never get it done, from May or June to July.
That way, most of the projects are going to be projects that need to be done when it's warmer out.
Right.
And that way, those are happening on a quicker timeline, in theory. So.
Don't make it too much more complicated, because I'm not that smart. He's smart. I'm not.
Any other comments or questions or thoughts? I should have talked about this earlier. This just shows you, I showed you all of our different commitments, things that we're working on. This just shows you how the decisions are made about what money is spent where, right? So I mentioned we have a match on the Nebius airports and their facilities. They all have their own, it's called the Airport Capital Improvement Plan, their ACIP, which documents a 5-year plan for their facility needs, upgrades, things like that. DelDOT puts together one of those ACIP documents as well for our system planning projects. And then we have the priority ranking system for the other non-Nebius facility capital needs. Those are not in any particular order. So they're not saying this is top priority, this is second, this is third. But that's the information that we use to then compile what money we can spend and what money we don't have, right? So. Okay. Turn it over to Delaware State University. Presentation. Can everyone online see that?
It's at least on mine, I can only see it on the screen in the room. It's not appearing on our regular screen like it would as if it was shared. I don't know if I'm the only one that has that issue.
No, I have it too.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't see.
It may be that panelists have a different view. I'm not certain. But we can see it on the sort of the far end of the room. It's just can't really read it.
I found if you blow up your screen to the full max, you can just about read it.
Yeah, I've got it that way right now. So
Well, I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure why it is not sharing on the meeting. Was the other presentation sharing?
No, they were not.
It's so strange because they can see the other slides, right?
well, it could be that the attendees are able to see this and the panelists may not be. I'm not certain if they could. I don't know if you can communicate with them to find out, but that might be interesting.
I was gonna say, if you check it.
Okay,
There we go.
there we go.
Boom.
Wow. Just, they'll clear and reset it. That's what I had to do. So I'll turn it over to Dave
Combination of buttons real
to
quick.
present. Yep, you can right over the front and then use the clicker if you like. This one.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Deep Mighty. You can call me Dave. I'm from Delaware State University. I have been marketing faculty at Del State for more than 10 years now. This is more like a new passion thing that I found. We developed this Center of Advanced Air Mobility. It's pretty new. In the month of March 2025, we created this new center. But I have been in touch with advanced air mobility in the sense in 2021, I went to Alaska and wanted to reach a specific place, but then found there are many locations, remote locations that you cannot use the traditional transportation. That's when I got in touch with NASA and wanted to see what tech stuff they have available. That's when they shared the repository. I found this advanced air mobility. At that point, it was not a buzz, but now it is well popular. Many investments are happening. I don't know if you have shares of some of these companies. If I have to go back, these pictures are some of them from some of the conference I attended. The main one, the central one, which is called Helix. They're from the conference that I attended in Palo Alto last year. The other one is from Grand Central Uber Joby one, S4. And these are all newer aircrafts, and the term advanced air mobility is an umbrella term to represent all these newer generation aircrafts which are electrified and can go electrically vertically take off and land, and that kind of has an implication on the real estate market too. So on the top left corner, you have that white aircraft that is by the company Beta, and they are soon going to launch their IPO. They're in the process. Joby and Archer. Archer is the one that's on the right bottom side. It's called Archer Midnight. They're already they have the IPOs. And if you had a chance to look into those shares and stocks, it has been an amazing journey. So if you had spent about $250,000 last year, October around, and you have sold the share this year in August, you would have made $1 million, $250,000 to $1 million. So essentially, it grew by four times. And these are the top AIM players that we have right now. Joby Aviation, Archer Aviation, also we have Beta that's coming up. All right. Again, as a market, as an industry, it's promising. The cumulative growth rate, average growth rate 21.7%, and it's going to be projected to be $110 billion industry by 2035. And multiple reports are kind of pointing towards that direction. It's going to have an impact by reducing the traffic by 15% by 2040. And job-wise, there are a lot of different types of jobs that can evolve out of this. 500,000 jobs by 2040. And these are very promising numbers and not from only one source. There are multiple different sources that you can look up. The most significant would be the aviation emission cut by 90%. The great thing that happened was last year, October 2022-24, they recognized this newer type of aircraft, which kind of was a game changer. So the Center of Advanced Air Mobility has been developed, and it's probably the first in the nation, or probably the first few, which has combined the business and aviation together. So that's one of the value propositions. Majority of the Center of Advanced Air Mobility that you would see or come across, they have aerospace component to it, aviation component to it. But the business and aviation combo is probably the first. And we are trying to have those interdisciplinary aspects being included, applied research, trying to integrate neuroscience aspect to it, real estate. And in business, we have this popular accreditation system, which is the AACSB. Potentially, the next steps would be to integrate the accreditation system. At this point, nothing like that exists. In fact, some of the course and curriculums are getting developed right now. So there's this educational side to it, like development of newer course certifications, micro-credentials that could be useful. A workforce development side, upskilling of veterans. I mean, there are a lot of veterans who are interested in this field and are gone into this entrepreneurial path. These are some of the areas of interest. We'll be looking into it. And again, we have been in existence for the last 6 months, and things have been, the growth-wise, it has been good. Vertiport planning and infrastructure is primarily my interest area, and probably it has many constituents who are interested in the entrepreneurial side of things. Ground on airspace integrations. Again, you have to keep in mind the newer generation automated robo taxis that are coming up that could be that could have a potential usage with these kind of aircrafts. Simulations. There are a lot of companies that are focusing on simulation side of things. And probably one of the biggest one is public acceptance and community integration. How different stakeholders fit into the equation. If there's an innovation, revenue is probably one of the angles, but then the societal benefit is probably the other one. Workforce development, interdisciplinary studies, all these different angles are probably where to look into it. As of now, we have been engaging with a lot of stakeholders, regulators, industry innovators. So we have had visits to NASA Wallops, and NARTP, which is the National Aerospace Research Tech Park in New Jersey. And DelDOT, we have been in conjunction working in multiple stuffs. One of the item was the NASA ULI Round 9. And that's actually an education university-centric grant program. We have been working on that. We are also applied and received a prize, NASA M-Plan, that's on the air traffic side of things, whereas the NASA ULI Round 9 was more from the community integration. So one of the recent winner of NASA ULI Round 7 or 8, I guess most likely it will be UD, University of Delaware. And they have a center which is called Center of Composite Materials. And they're working on those creating materials that could be utilized, lightweight materials that could be utilized for making these aircrafts, so that it can has quite those efficiencies. And one of the things that we did recently was this initiative Air 2026, and this was an event that we hosted at Del State, Dover campus, and we invited again many stakeholders here, regulators. We have companies flying from Romania. And this is to highlight the importance of the FIFA World Cup. So we wanted to integrate AAM with FIFA, with DSU's Center of Advanced Air Mobility. And kind of highlight our center to be one of the prominent player in this regional context. And again, it's just to highlight the FIFA side of things. You have multiple FIFA committees that are working towards it. One is the New York, New Jersey. They're focused on the New Jersey, the stadium, MetLife Stadium, New Jersey. The other one is the Philadelphia Stadium, which will be called Philadelphia Stadium. It's right now called Lincoln Stadium. One of the opportunities that we recognize is Wilmington to be a spillover hub, because it's 25, 30 minutes from that location. And that kind of it's a game-changing opportunity. And we looked at several things. Looked at the match schedule. We looked at different types of stadiums that are in that route, different helipads, different airports that are in that region vicinity. And it kind of you'll be surprised that next year between March 2026 and July 2026, there'll be 1 million people visiting that region. 1 million people. There is the economic impact is huge, and we're still working on it. There are many companies who were present that day. Were Boeing, CNA corporations. We have had Delaware Prosperity Partnership, which is the governor's unit, Charter School of Wilmington, Line Ports, which is the simulator from Romania, NARTP, New Jersey Institute of Tech. They have AAM lab. And also we looked at the regional educational academic presence, which is focused on AAM. And again, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, there are universities that are focused on AAM. One of them is New Jersey Institute of Tech. We are partnering with them. SAIC, all Azimut, and probably you might know James Herrera, who is working with all Azimut. The goal of this event was to form a task force that can tackle all these regional economic development type of conversation. We also have had other units from DSU join us. Center of Neuroscience was one of them, which I felt was very relevant because the next generation pilot, the operations are different, and that might need some sort of behavioral understanding of how that might impact in a long-term fashion. We have sports and management, and we are the business administration, aviation guys too. Yeah, I'll keep it at that if you have any questions.
This is a quick question. Will there be a separate market analysis for the state of Delaware? I'm trying to wonder, just with the AAM business model itself, what are some of the minimum demographics, populations, urbanized areas that would go into their decision making making process in terms of building these types of facilities? And does does Delaware meet any sort of those minimum demographic thresholds to make Delaware an attractive place for actually building some of these sites? And I don't know if these sites, I don't know much about the subject at all, but would the sites be separate sites using existing aircraft facilities, or would these be separate sites that would be built outside of our current, aeronautics infrastructure?
Yeah, and that's a good question, actually. This is how this field has evolved. So, I mean, many of these analyses have been done in 2018 by the NASA team, and they have had like different chapters focused on what sort of demographic, where is the interest lies, what urban pockets. I mean, well, they were focused on the urban markets, but the market has expanded beyond the urban locations. So what kind of urban locality, what kind of routes? So all those has been analyzed during 2018. I mean, based on how this industry evolved, existing infrastructure could be utilized, because, like, you know, the vertiports where these aircrafts are going to land and take off, they were previously categorized as a separate, newer kind of infrastructure. But then, so FAA went through multiple rounds of industry days and categorized vertiports as a part of heliports with like special requirements. Based on my understanding, the infrastructure that we have as a state of Delaware, I mean, like, it's actually we're sitting on the gold, because like it's because of the way the stadiums are arranged, the events that are connected with each of these stadiums, and the number of people that visit the particular locations. And if you look at the nodes, you have New York on the side and then Washington, DC. The corridors can be created, and the time that it would take from going from A to B kind of fits with the battery's capability to, like, you know, fly these aircrafts from point A to B. So for example, if you think for like, you know, 1 hour regular driving distance could be cut down to like, you know, 7 minutes, plus add those like, you know, security checking kind of things. So essentially it's from the state of Delaware's point of view, certainly, yes, there's a lot of opportunity. We can use existing infrastructure as well. So a thorough analysis is needed. And I think DelDOT with Randall's leadership and Austin's leadership, they have created the report. So there's a lot of things that could be done. But here, through this initiative, we are focused on tapping into the FIFA opportunity, because like that's like once in a lifetime kind of situation in this area. And when I looked into it, saw New York, New Jersey, they have like the combined capabilities to address this. Philadelphia is also coming up, but the states are, Delaware states representation was like was lacking. So I thought of, like, you know, highlighting that.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Ask your business item. And do you want me to pull up slides, or do you want to share slides?
You if you've got them right there, you might as well do it from there. Perfect.
Do you see these?
Yes.
Good.
Okay. This is an update on the system plan, and where we are is we finished the goals and objectives, the inventory, and the forecast, and the very next step is the demand capacity analysis, followed by, system facility needs. The analysis that we did was performed for the airfield and landside facilities at the airport. It's very sort of a conventional way that they do it. and the capacity really is a function of acceptable delay per aircraft operation. The landside capacity is what I would say for our analysis is going to be very conservative in that there's probably, people at different airports are going to say, well, I think I need more hangars than what you're saying. That's absolutely true. We're just looking at the forecast and comparing that to what's available. Has nothing to do with economic growth or development and that kind of thing. Um, the analysis that we ended up with goes 20 years into the future, looks at constraints for 2045. Next slide. So, as I said, the annual service volume is what the FAA calls it. It's the number of aircraft operations that you can have with an acceptable level of delay. Well, what is that? Well, the FAA has defined 4 minutes per operation at GA airports and 7 minutes at airline airports as that acceptable level. Once you exceed that, you're starting to, exceed your quote unquote capacity. Next slide. So, in looking at the annual service volume for each of the airports that we have, there's a methodology that we use to do it, and I'm not going to bore you with that. I realize I may be one of the people that's separating you from dinner. So, looking at the 2045 operations and the percent of the annual service volume, you can see that, there's, not I mean, the utilization rate for the whole state is about 23%. So we're fine relative to additional airfield capacity. It does not mean that the airfields are equipped to handle the type of aircraft that are using them. That's a standards issue where there might be more runway strength or runway length needed to accommodate the demand. But as far as the number of operations are concerned, we're fine. The total, and you just go back real quick, the total annual hours of delay, when you add everything up, it's not, I mean, these at a large, airline airport, it can be thousands of hours. So the state of Delaware is in good shape in that regard. Next slide. So, well, I just said all this. So next slide. Airline facilities, that's a new thing. And I'm sorry that Ben isn't here. But the gate and terminal capacity that we looked at for the level of annual airline operations that are forecast for Wilmington are adequate. They did add a 6,000 foot, I guess it's a hold room or to their terminal this past year, and that, if we look at what would remain, the seating, the curb, terminal curb, baggage flow, and of course, auto parking is always an issue. Next slide. So, as far as the airfield improvements, we're recommending pavement overlays at all 6 paved airports. That's a maintenance issue, really. This is within the 20-year planning horizon. Runway extension for Delaware Coastal to 6,000 feet. The Summit Airport going from, roughly 4,500 to 5,000 feet extension as well. We're looking at runway widening at Corman and Chandel. Jeff, you may say, we're fine.
I remember when it was 37 feet. 50 feet.
What's that?
I remember when it was 37 feet wide. Now
Yeah,
it's
exactly. No, you're on that, you're on the way, to doing that. Um, but in terms of putting this out there, to get to FAA standards, we'd love to get to 60 feet. It may or may not be practical, but it'll be on the books. That's kind of the way that would work. Um, we would want to preserve turf runways at Jenkins, Laurel, and Smyrna through the period if possible as well. Next slide. So here we're showing existing T-hanger units and needed. You see Corman and Delaware Air Park. There may be others out there that need new space. The conventional hangars, we're not showing a need just because the math didn't work exactly right. It's very possible that, particularly at Delaware Coastal, much of that space is actually a loft. And so it's not storage, aircraft storage. So that, basically would lower, what they have existing. Even so, we're not showing that demand. Doesn't mean they're not needed. Doesn't mean that they shouldn't be built. It's just from a systems standpoint, we're not highlighting that. Next slide. We did do some work, which was, I consider, groundbreaking on heliport and vertiport capacity. We did some modeling. We looked at what was out there, and it's interesting. NASA has done some things that were not useful as far as we were concerned. Um, and we came up with what I think is a fairly common sense model on how it might work. And we uh, there's an appendix to the system plan chapter that deals with this because, again, this was not something that the FAA was funding, but it is something the state is funding. So we do have a forecast, an inventory, and now a capacity analysis for the heliport and vertiport capacity. Why is that important? Well, this is directly inputting the AAM portion of future demand. Next slide. So just to summarize it, no airport's going to get to the 60% sort of red line. That's when you're supposed to be starting the planning for new facilities. No runway expansions triggered by capacity. However, there are runways that are we're looking to extend based upon standards of aircraft utilization. The facilities at Wilmington are sufficient at this point. There's always monitoring that can go on should they need to, should Avello increase their presence there. We're looking at additional hangars, an apron at Corman, Delaware Air Park, Delaware Coastal, and Summit, and then with the AAM, we're looking at adding heliports and vertiports, and in the next phase, we will identify some locations in that regard. So that's basically it from our standpoint. We could take any questions that may be out there. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
you see this slide online?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Randall, again, and Austin for your updates on new business. Item 4 is individual member airport updates and aviation updates, and we typically call a roll. And when your name is called, give us a few minutes of what's going on at your facility or at your airport, and start with the roll call then.
You want to start, John?
Sure. Laurel Airport, everything status quo. It was funny, I was watching somebody video themselves landing on Facebook the other day. I'm like, man, that's a clear approach to the south. Look at that. That's all right. Everything's good there. Lights are good. I think all the hangars are full but one. At Greenwood, we have our fly-in on Saturday. I think I emailed that to everybody, but certainly like to have we're gonna have a big attendance, I feel, which is good. And we're hopefully gonna have an air show next year. We'll see. See how that goes. I did put in requests for funding for taxiway paving on the north side of those rental hangars, and also obstruction removal on the north end, which I've already cut down the trees, which they did that last winter, which was great, and that's a big difference. But the deal I made with the farmer was that they cut down the trees, but I gotta clear it, like get it so he can farm it. That's the only way he let me cut down the trees. So I've held him off a year waiting for funding, so hopefully that goes through. The seal coating worked out well. We do have one hangar for rent that actually I thought the guy came in July and looked at it. I thought he took it, and then I got busy flying and didn't follow up on it, so I didn't know. And then we just had another renter, he died. He was a young guy. He had a heart attack and died. So I'm sure, I doubt his airplane's going to be staying. Long-term plans, I'd still like to get an instrument approach in there. I just haven't done anything with it. So, yeah.
Calvin, do you have any updates?
Good evening, everyone. Again, appreciate you guys having me. Nothing too much. Just want to say, appreciate everyone working with us at Delaware State and being patient with our aircraft. I know are beating up your pattern. We are up around 100 students actively flying the line. So that coupled with 25 airplanes, the scheduled as well as unscheduled maintenance, we have been on a maintenance shutdown for the last 2 weeks. With that noted, if anyone knows an AMP who has at least a decent amount of experience looking for something part-time or even something full-time, please reach out and let me know. Looking for another AMP to help out at the university as well. So appreciate everyone.
You guys have been flying that helicopter a lot. It's been busy.
We're flying everything a lot. I'll tell you, we are burning up these aircraft as quickly as we're getting them back.
Okay, Richard, do you have any updates?
I have no updates at this time. Thank you.
At the Delaware Coastal Airport, we finished construction of the first phase of a 4-phased new primary taxiway construction project. First phase only completed about a quarter of the overall taxiway, and with FAA notice from the FAA, we can likely continue to expect AIP grants for the following 3 years to complete the total construction of that project. Actually had the FAA in my office today doing a final inspection on that project, and all punch list items have been addressed and the taxiway is now open. Still waiting for word from the Federal Aviation Administration on submitting applications for the General Aviation Runway Extension Pilot Program. There was a little bit of information that was given to us by the FAA representative who was there today, but we're still waiting for announcement for submittal of applications to happen at just about any time. Other than that, as we get out of the construction season, the colder temperatures, shorter days arrive. I wouldn't necessarily say we're entering a downtime, but traffic is still strong. Aloft is still very active. In fact, they've got so many aircraft on their campus right now that they've got 3 of them that are having to sit outside of full hangars. So that's good news for us. But we're hoping, fingers crossed, for a mild winter, and we'll see what happens. That's it for us.
It's good.
Okay. Jeremiah, do you have any updates?
No, no new updates at this time.
The songs, Alexander?
No new updates.
General question. Has the federal shutdown impacted any of the grants or the scheduling of any of the improvements? I don't know if anybody had any thoughts on that.
I do not know how the FAA is funded. So I've received correspondence from the FAA. Obviously, they were just at your office today too. So it sounds like they are still.
There's still, FAA was there today.
That's good.
Apparently, the airport district offices receive their funding or operations through a portion of the AIP program, which that's already been, funding for that had already been allocated, so they're still operating. Grant submittals for fiscal year 26 may be delayed based upon other FAA offices that are shut down right now.
Right.
So the airport district offices are still operating at full capacity. And review and grant reimbursements for projects that were funded in 25, 24, and 23, those are still being put through. Yeah.
All right. We'll now move into our public comment period. Do we have any members of the public with us in person or online that would like to comment? Well, with that,
Austin, before we
yes.
go to item 6, do you want to discuss members whose term is coming up?
yes, thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, let me hand you this. 4 members whose term on the advisory committee is set to expire at the end of this year.
Yes, so Kelvin, Richard, Ben, and Nick, we will be reaching out to you to request an indication of whether or not you would like to be reappointed to the council. So we'll reach out to you in the coming weeks and look forward to hearing your response, and we'll move forward with next steps after that. So keep an eye out for that email from us. Anything else anybody has?
Nope, that's it.
Our next meeting is scheduled for January 21st, 2026. We are not going back in time. So we'll make sure everyone has that calendar information in coming weeks. And I think we are good to close. Bob, can you introduce the
motion?
formal? Yes, please.
Make a motion to close our meeting for today. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And second, who
Second.
can? And then again, let me ask the names of the individuals who made the Jeff Corman first. Who's second the motion?
Jeremiah Hardy.
Jeremiah. All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone want to keep the meeting going by saying no? All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. Good deal.
Thank you.
Yep, have a good night.
Bye-bye.